Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, saluting Earth Day on April 22nd with an ongoing commitment to help offset carbon emissions with sustainable harvesting of Missouri forests. Details at choosewood.com.
From St. Louis Public Radio. This is St. Louis on the Air.
And I looked around and I was like, okay, what's missing? And nobody had flowers.
And so we have put up high tunnels, which are season extension tools. They're unheated plastic structures. And then we also have greenhouses. We can extend our season, keep plants alive over winter, and harvest early in the spring. The property was so exciting to us because of the original 1950 Lord and Burnham glass greenhouse. So we rehabbed that.
Literally walked in and glass was crunching under our feet, condemned.
It became harder and harder to make money as a farmer-florist, and so the industry pretty much vanished.
I'm Sarah Fensky. An estimated 80% of cut flowers in the U.S. come from overseas, but that is not true of the flowers you purchase from Urban Buds. The sustainable florist grows its own flowers in St. Louis's Dutchtown neighborhood, and that includes 70 different kinds. And joining us today to tell us how they do it and why that's so revolutionary is Karen Davis, better known as Mimo. She is a co-owner of Urban Buds. So Mimo, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. So excited to be here, really. It's a real pleasure.
We are so glad you're here. And we're also joined today by Miranda Duschack. She's a co-owner of Urban Buds. She's also a small farm specialist at Lincoln University's St. Louis Extension. Miranda, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
So, Mimo, your land in Dutchtown has been a farm since 1870. How did the two of you get involved in farming it?
Well, Miranda actually discovered this piece of property through her work and said, hey, Mima, we had already been talking about farming together. And Mima, there's this place, and basically we went over and looked at it, and it was literally condemned. It had a glass greenhouse on it, which we've rehabbed. But literally walked in, and glass was crunching under our feet. It was just a real, fixer-upper. And Miranda was like, Mima, I don't know who would ever want to buy this. And I turned around and I said, we do, right now. And
what about this? It sounds kind of like a not the most idyllic farm setting right there.
Yeah, you would think that. 10 years ago, I just, Miranda had a hard time seeing it, but I saw a vision for us. And it was beautiful. And 10 years later, this is our 10th anniversary. And we've made it happen.
Yeah. And that's so unusual to see a small farm thriving 10 years in. I'm also curious, Miranda, you're a fourth-generation beekeeper. You've also done other kinds of farming. What made you guys settle on, we want to do flowers?
Well, really, the flowers came because of Mima's skill set. When we decided to farm together, we looked at what we did well, our skills, and what opportunities were available. Mima had been farming in Missouri since the early 90s, and although she had left that, she still had customer base here. People knew her from the Clayton Farmers Market. Mm-hmm. So when we did our due diligence and talked with some of our old floral customers, they said, yeah, come on back. So that's what we did.
And Mima, you feel like flowers, those are your thing.
It's my wheelhouse. What can I say? When I looked at it a long time ago, when tomatoes come into the marketplace, everybody's got tomatoes.
Yeah.
When beans come in, everybody's got beans. And I looked around, I was like, okay, what's missing? And nobody had flowers. And it was such a unique idea to go into the marketplace with flowers, and that was over 30 years ago.
Well, so from the outside looking in, I'm thinking, oh man, everybody has flowers. You can get these roses at the supermarket, and carnations are everywhere. Turns out it's a whole lot more complicated. People are not growing these flowers.
That's correct.
In St. Louis, and they're not even growing them in Missouri.
That's right. That's correct. I think there's more and more flower growers coming up now. But, the flower frenzy is happening across the country. There are more and more local growers starting up their own farms. It's definitely difficult. I would say it's more complicated than vegetables because there's so much variety to choose from that you can grow. All the way from native plants to exotic roses. You can. Yeah. So it's a huge broad spectrum of things you can grow. So to make certain decisions, to be able to make those decisions and then carrying them out is the challenge.
Miranda, I think a lot of people would be shocked to know that statistic I think I started with, just how many flowers come from overseas. You don't think of flowers as something that can store well and that you'd want to take your time getting it to where it goes. Is there a historic reason that we're getting these from different countries?
Yeah, the cut flower industry really changed in the 1990s with the Andean Trade Agreement. The Clinton administration addressed the cocaine crack epidemic as trying to stop the growth of coca plants in Central and South America. And by doing that, gave preferential trade agreements to those countries to grow things like roses and carnations, flowers that ship well.
Oh, okay.
Right? And so all these fields had been transitioned to cut flowers, and that really just destroyed the domestic cut flower industry, and including the cut flower industry here in St. Louis. St. Louis used to have glass greenhouses in Sunset Hills, in Crestwood, places like that, Florissant as well. But it became harder and harder to make money as a farmer florist, and so the industry pretty much vanished. What's unique about our property is that they were farmer florists for 100 years and 3 generations of the Held family. And now we're just continuing that tradition. So we kind of say what we're doing is so old it looks new.
Yeah, I love that. You're bringing this back.
Exactly.
And you're doing this in a more sustainable way. And this is, again, something that probably a lot of us who are happy to get flowers delivered, we don't even think about. How are you guys trying to cut down on waste?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of plastic and waste in agriculture in general. So we first off, we use OMRI approved products. We save the bees. We spray at night or early in the morning when we need to, and it's really rare that we do.
You're using very minimal,
and they're OMRI approved, which means that they're
the Organic Materials Review Institute certified products.
Oh,
yes. And also, we really try and cut down on the plastics, although we use a lot. It's inevitable. But we really try to minimize or get a longer life period out of the plastic that we do use, and try and recycle as much as we can.
And I understand floral foam. This is a big
terrible.
issue. What makes floral foam so terrible?
It doesn't biodegrade. We don't use it at all.
Not at all.
At all. We use other things like wire mesh or just not at all. Or we'll use corkscrew willow and wrap that up in the base of a vase. But really, it's horrible for the environment, and there's so much of it out there. It just does not biodegrade and just goes in the lamp. It never breaks down. It's there.
Yeah, so that's a problem. And you're able to make things look gorgeous. You have in front of me an example of a bouquet that just looks amazing. And this is flowers grown here in St. Louis and no foam in sight.
And it's also, what is this, beginning of April? I mean, again, that we really try to extend our season in growing flowers. I mean, if you really think about it, to really be in this industry, you've got to have flowers producing early in February, because what's in February?
Yeah, I mean, Valentine's Day, right?
Exactly,
you got to be on that. Yeah.
Right, so all of the floral holidays really, and weddings are, after May, the flower industry kind of dips down a little bit until everybody comes back from vacation in September.
Yeah.
So you got to really have that going on.
So how do you do that? You're doing that in greenhouses.
Yeah, the property was so exciting to us because of the original 1950 Lord and Burnham glass greenhouse. So we rehab that, we heat with natural gas, and then we have availed ourselves of research grants from the Missouri Department of Agriculture. They help us through their granting program to try different varieties of cut flowers and different ways of growing them. And so we have put up high tunnels, which are season extension tools. They're unheated plastic structures. And then we also have greenhouses. So that means a similar plastic structure where heat is added. And in those ways, we can extend our season, keep plants alive over winter, and harvest early in the spring.
And are you doing this mostly with flowers that would be native to Missouri?
No. The native flowers would be more in the field because they don't need the special attention that the other flowers do.
Okay, so you're doing a wide variety of blooms here.
Yeah, you said 70, but I think it's more like 80. We kind of lose track.
It's inching up, huh?
Yeah, we lose count. So
That's amazing. Well, so we promise that, this is this great opportunity for our listeners that we have two flower growing experts here, because I know this is the time of year when so many of us are thinking, man, I should plant some stuff. Mm-hmm. And then so many of us end up giving up by June. So for spring planting, Mimo, you're our floral expert here. When do people want to get those seeds or those bulbs? You tell me, in the ground.
Well, you want to, if you're going to do seeds, you want to start those seeds now or earlier even, depending on what they are.
I'm already too late.
Yeah, well, you're never too late because it's a long, hot summer, right?
Yeah.
So you could start those seeds now and be just fine. Start with some basic things like sunflowers and zinnias. Zinnias are the workhorse of a flower garden because you can cut and just keep cutting. Cut and come again is what they're called. And sunflowers, zinnias, celosia is another one that's really good. If you're I hear that a lot of people are really starting to really look at cut flower native plants. You have your liatris, which all those are perennial. Liatris and your purple beard stung and your rattlesnake masters and.
Okay, these are plants I have not even heard of.
Right, I'm probably speaking a foreign language to people right now.
Yeah.
But if you just get in touch with us at Urban Buds, we could, guide you in the right direction. And there's a whole nursery in the state of Missouri dedicated to wildflower production and stuff. So.
This is Missouri Wildflowers near Jefferson City.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So you guys are giving this planting advice to people. Are you worried you're going to put yourself out of a job if I can teach myself how to actually grow something?
The thing is, people work so hard to get it planted and get it in the ground, and then they're so proud of it. It's like they're little babies. So then they don't want to cut it, right? Yeah. So then they come to the Tower Grove Farmers Market, and that's where we come in. Yeah. Because we're there every Saturday at the Tower Grove Farmers Market. And,
so they can buy a bouquet from you,
right,
keep theirs in their yard.
There you go.
So we're talking about getting these into the ground now. I understand another important thing for those of us who've struggled with keeping plants alive. You might want to do a soil test.
Oh, soil tests are key.
What is this and why is this important?
Soil test, you look at the place you want to grow your cut flowers. We're going to say for those plants Mima suggested, that's full sun. Right? So you're going to want full sun and not around a black walnut tree. And you're going to take a soil sample of that area, 6 samples, 6 inches deep, just a little core sample of soil. Mix it together, get about a cup of material, and you can take that soil sample to the University of Missouri Extension Office in Kirkwood, and they will get that to the Plant Diagnostic Lab in Columbia. And you'll ask for the gardener makeup. And if you have any concerns about heavy metals, let's say you're growing on vacant lots, which Urban Buds does as well, or places that houses have been demolished, then you also ask for a heavy metals concentration, especially if you're going to be growing anything edible, but even with cut flowers, because a lot of that lead contamination comes through surface contamination, just touching it. So anyway, the soil sample is going to tell you what you need to add in terms of fertilization, and also just make sure your soil is safe to be working in.
Okay, these are really helpful, practical tips. I'm grateful for this. I love how you looked at me when I'm like, what is a soil test? I imagine that I can't be alone and not have knowing that, so thank you. No. But look, you guys are going up, or you're in your 10th year right now.
Amazing.
It's amazing. amazing. And there are some really terrible statistics on this. Small scale farms more likely to fail than restaurants. And here you guys are 10 years out. What do you think has been the secret to your success?
Oh, I think it's I think a couple of things. One, I think we can be the dynamic duo. We can complement each other very well. We can also drive each other crazy, but we can do things well. And then I think the community of St. Louis has just really embraced us, from our aldermen to government officials to the state of Missouri to our customers. So, really, it's the people showing up and buying our flowers that enables us to continue this dream and continue this project in Dutchtown. So that's a big thing. And I think people want to see us have success. 1.6% of farmers in the United States are Black, and 14% are women-owned. So,
the statistics were stacked against us from day one.
Yeah.
And
but here we
that.
sit.
Yeah.
And I think it's about tenacity, too, our just will to, make it happen. And the flowers themselves are so beautiful. It's a totally different product buying a locally grown flower than, getting what you get at a big box store, for example.
Sure.
It's just a totally different product. So.
And I imagine on top of just how beautiful they are, they also last a whole lot longer.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
That is wonderful. Well, I congratulate you guys on this success. It's just so great to hear, and I can't wait to have you back in 10 years, and we'll talk about how you defied the odds and are there for 2 decades. We'll have you back before then, too.
Right.
Mimo Davis, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you. And come visit us at Tower Grove Farmers Market. Our spring fling is this weekend. Come on out.
And Miranda Duschack, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
This episode was produced by Kayla Drake with audio engineering and podcast design by Aaron Dorr. Our executive producer is Alex Hoyer. St. Louis on the Air is a production of St. Louis Public Radio. Understanding starts here.
Do you find yourself regularly listening to episodes of St. Louis on the Air? Suggest us to a friend you think might enjoy our conversations. And leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts on the App Store. It's the simplest way to help people discover our show. Thanks.
St. Louis Public Radio is a member-supported service of the University of Missouri, St. Louis.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, saluting Earth Day on April 22nd with an ongoing commitment to help offset carbon emissions with sustainable harvesting of Missouri forests. Details at choosewood.com.